Path of Night is an actual play Vampire the Masquerade podcast set in the world of darkness. We're all friends, we're here to have fun, but our story can include graphic violence, drug use, sexual content, and other mature themes. Content warnings can be found in the show notes. We talk at our table about safety, comfort, and consent both as players and storytellers. We know what to expect, we're all excited to be here, and we want you to feel the same, so listener discretion is advised. Now, let's walk the Path of Night.
Last time on Path of Night, Reiss delivered devastating news to the Coterie of the fall of the Anarchs in New Haven. The Tremere informed the Coterie of the location of the killing spree, but suspecting his motive, the Coterie investigated further. Britta spoke to the Toreador, who discovered the survival of Arabella Rowlands. The clan chose to leave the domain. Miles was healed by Assamite methods, but drank a mortal dry upon his recovery. Johnny spoke to his daughter Jessica and found that she and Eden are being hunted by Dark Selina and the Black Hand. Britta scouted in Astral and discovered Reiss and the Tremere tracking Eden there too. Neil uncovered his sire's plans and worked to reshape them as his own. Ira, you know a lot of things. And you tend to be pretty good at figuring out which way the wind is blowing, but New Haven has been a series of unexpected disasters. You've been spending some time tracking the Tremere, trying to figure out what Reiss's next move so that you can move and intercept him. But you have to watch your own back too. And even with your experience and your training, this place is just too goddamn hostile. So here you are, at a gas station, pumping gas and getting ready for the longest trip you've made in a little while. And as you do, you can hear the distant sirens. It's by chance that this place has any power at all, some of it due to interference from you. And so you take this breather, this moment between bloody ticks, smoke a cigarette, and relax. And as you smoke, the sound of the pump stops. The cherry on your cigarette goes out. The chemical reaction stopped. And as you go to move the cigarette doesn't quite move from its place, as if locked in time. And that's when you hear the footfalls of boots. You gaze over your shoulder, and you see her approaching, someone you have not seen since one of your worst memories in recent history. You believe she was called Tenach, and she is clad in very modern body armor. There's an automatic weapon slung over her shoulder. She wears this kind of dark urban drab boots, gloves. She has a stern expression on her face, and you are certain that these manipulations in time that just happened around you are her doing. And as she approaches, she puts her hands up so that you can see her gloved palms. I have not come to harm you, Yara, but there is much to discuss.
I don't think that I have much to discuss with someone who raided and killed an entire chantry. Thanks.
A chantry filled with people who would be your enemy if they still lived, no?
I still can't shake the feeling that it wouldn't have gone down that way. Ira, flexes his fingers. Not doing anything, but he is clearly tense around this woman and ready to fight at a moment's notice.
We will have to disagree. Agree to disagree on the whether or not Reiss would have cast you aside if given the opportunity.
I'm not talking about Reiss. There were a lot of apprentices and acolytes in there that didn't deserve what happened to them.
Well, I will not apologize for the death of Tremere. But I know that there is a piece of you that recognizes the threat of their conspiracies.
Ira's silent at that, just watching her.
And I know that you are fleeing the last daughter of Eve.
At that, he narrows his eyes.
But you see, she approaches. Perhaps that is where you and I might find an understanding. Our wars, the jihad that exists between us, it is a perpetuation of the will of callous elders. Those who would control the world if given the opportunity, even if that world were dying. But through this girl there is hope. And while you believe leaving and putting yourself as far away from her as possible is the best means of protecting her, you are wrong.
He cocks an eyebrow at her. Yeah, and you know what's right.
I have spent a very long time not knowing what is right, but long enough that I know the difference when I see the chance to do something right.
Ira thinks about everything he's done for the Tremere over years, and that one moment that he had not all that long ago to do the right thing, and he can't quite help himself but looking at her with a little bit of sympathy. Fine. Go on.
You were trained to combat Tremere. I offer a new path, but one approached through familiar means. Britta, you return to your body that is in the back seat of a speeding car.
Okay. Hi, guys.
We're on our way.
There's a lot we're heading towards.
Like what?
Like Dark Selina and Delgado, and a bunch of their operatives. And in the astral realm, Reiss and a bunch of Tremere who look really ready to do a lot of magic.
In the passenger seat, Miles will slam his fist on the dashboard. You're kidding me.
Don't be mad at me about it.
I'm not mad at you. Mad at the Tremere, specifically Reiss.
Go with that feeling.
Reiss saw me. I just ran. But he seemed like he was going to come up to me, and that didn't seem good, and I just decided that I was just going to go, but he knows that I know.
Seems like a good idea.
Thank you. I thought so too. I didn't really want him to get near my court or however that works.
Is there anything we can do against Tremere in the astral plane?
It was my first time doing this, so I'm not really an expert. We'd need Neil for that, but if it ends up being the case that we have to, or I guess I have to, attack them in the astral, they're about halfway to my haven, but Dark Selina's just running alongside, and Reiss has, a bunch of eyes on it too. They're right on the car. I don't think Dark Selina saw me or any of that, but...
If we get there, the best you can do, I guess, is try to hold off to Tremere. I don't...
Oh, I was saying, I can try it. I don't think I'm going to be very good at it, and I don't think that I don't know if it would be best for me to be doing it, but I could try and, attack their willpower, try to sever their cords, but it's bad because they might be able to hurt me back.
I get it. We don't have a lot of options.
Did you get a sense of how many mortals are in the area?
That, I couldn't. There's too much else going on.
Most of them are in hiding or fled.
All right. I'm worried about, Reiss just showed us again how he's not afraid to use mortals and jump into them to do his shit.
Well, he can cast magic at us from the astral, so...
Yeah, I don't know what else he can do.
We're trying to get out of here with Eden, right? Or at least protect her.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is the thing we need to do.
We can fight against the Black Hand. I don't know what we do against Dark Selina. I'm going to have a hard enough time controlling myself in her presence. Assuming we can take care of all that, we still have the Tremere to deal with. From the astral plane, they can just attack us, right?
Yeah.
Well, I can see...
Can he call the wind saber from across the astral plane?
I think that was a ritual. It's going to take time.
But who knows if he's got it prepared.
I could try and see if presence would work on them, but I don't know if it would, because it doesn't normally, but...
What if we tried to find their bodies?
If they're worth half of what we think they are, they'll probably have already hidden their bodies in places that'll take far too much time.
We're going to have to focus on the threats that we can deal with.
It's speed of thought, so their bodies could be literally anywhere.
And probably each one of them is in a distance far away from the others. So
Right.
even if we find one, that's one.
Britta will stay with Eden and Jessica and try to deal with them in Astral as best she can.
You want me to be there?
I don't see a choice right now.
But I'll be alone.
Well, we don't have a choice right now.
Jump back if it gets too dicey.
You should hide your body, though.
If she's with Eden and Jessica, I feel like that might be the safest place.
I can stay
We'll
with...
be protecting them regardless.
Johnny looks like visibly concerned, but doesn't really bring up a better solution.
My
I
body
can-
does need to be hidden. I need to be...
Johnny, if you're worried about controlling yourself, I'll stay and protect Jessica and Eden. You get closer to the big fight. I'll be between you and them.
If there's anything we have to do, is to make sure that they're safe. Everything else doesn't matter as much as this.
All right.
I will summon Neil when we get closer.
Okay. I need you guys to do thinking for me because I fucking can't. What are they going to expect us to do, and how can we not do that? Because that's how we've won these fights in the past.
We're on the defensive. They have to come to us. We're going to have to fight like hell. And I'm
What do we have that they want?
Eden.
We don't have her.
We're going to be there.
Yes, we're going to be there, but we don't have her currently. What can we use to get them away from her?
Nothing that I can think of. We're going to have to fight like hell, and that's the only real plan that we have.
My thought is that of the Black Hand, Delgado is in charge. But I don't know where that old bastard's thoughts are at. He didn't strike me as being completely on this course. But then again, he's a fucking Black Hand agent. He could be just playing with me and trying to show me sides of him to throw me off my game. I don't know.
Is there a chance you can Return of the Jedi, Luke and Vader him?
Not with Dark Selina there.
Well, she's
there
fucking
is.
Palpatine.
I mean, my presence worked on him before. Maybe presence still would.
Possibly, but he's got generation on me. He's my sire. And more importantly, he's also of Dark Selina's line. So anything I can do is going to pale in comparison to what she can.
Then don't use your blood. Talk to him like a person.
That will still be trumped by Dark Selina.
She'll have to spend time to do it, though.
Right.
That's fair.
Didn't seem like it took that much time on the rooftop.
In the combat, what I know about Dominate, it's time she can't be doing it to someone else.
I don't know how we fight the Tremere, if I'm being perfectly honest. I know you can delay them in the astral plane by engaging. I don't know if you win that fight.
I don't think I do. I don't know. Like, there's a few things I can try. I could try to, like I said, sever their cords, or...
Maybe
What if you just grapple them?
I mean, I'm not nearly as good at as like Johnny or...
But you're probably better than the fucking wizard nerds.
if there's more than one of them, it won't make a difference.
Yeah, but it'll stop them for a minute. We're not going for, like, winning a big fight here. I don't think we're looking to, like, stomp them out to a man. We're looking to get Eden out of there alive, and probably the rest of them, too.
The only problem is that we do need to be able to feasibly get away with her. And a minute is not going to stop Tremere and astral projection. They'll chase us down. The speed of the Black Hand, and specifically Dark Selina, they'll chase us down. We need to figure out a way to somehow meaningfully stop them at this point.
Okay, well, I'm trying and you guys keep shooting down ideas, so fucking come up with something better.
Please don't yell.
Please don't yell.
Johnny reaches back and grabs her by the scruff of the shirt.
Wynn bites him.
Enough.
He holds onto it, and you can continue to bite his hand.
She looks at him like, do something about it. Like a defiant teenager.
Let it go.
Not right now, Wynn. And he lets her go.
She gives him the finger.
We don't have any options for the Tremere at this point. I will do what I can. Britta is the one with the astral ability. She will do what she can. None of the rest of us have options. So focus on what you can do. Now start preparing ourselves. We're going into combat soon.
To do what?
Fight the fucking Sabbat until they're dead.
Then give me your fucking arm.
What?
You don't have a fucking plague anymore. Let's finish the fucking blood bond so I fucking listen to you and not my brain.
Britta, who had been kind of shrinking back and kind of curling up like a victim, is now peeking out over her little defenses at the interest of, oh my god, they're gonna do it.
Miles stops and thinks, and then unrolls the cuff, no real armor there, and holds it out to Wynn.
Wynn unbuckles her seatbelt from one of the seats in the back and scoots forward, looking put upon and dramatic and, oh my god, I don't want to fucking do this anymore, sort of body language. And she kind of takes his arm. It does look appealing. She does know that it's tasty. And she does bring it up to her mouth.
As she's about to bite into him, he looks directly into her eyes and uses his other hand to stop her.
What are you doing?
No.
What do you fucking mean, no?
You can't. You won't forgive me. It's better. I've made some choices.
So you're just gonna link me to you, always wanting more?
I don't think that'll be a problem.
She kind of shoves his arm back at him and sits back in her seat and crosses her arms, putting her seatbelt back on.
Miles, I don't get it. Why you were doing that to protect her, right?
Nobody's fucking protecting me anymore, Britta.
No, I'm doing it because in the end, she will never forgive me if I did that.
You see a kind of a side eye from Johnny and like kind of a very subtle nod of approval.
And I look at him and I go, not for what you think.
The car pulls up right by the cafe that Britta has used for some time now. The theater is a makeshift one. It's more of this like hall that has had most of the furniture, etc., removed, so that there's a very nice big open space for this performance. However, there are these spongy, orangey veins that creep up through the floor and line the walls, and it looks like in the section where the play is being performed, these cups have been arranged, one for each of the intended performers, including yourself. And what you see is one of the performers pulling this like handful of this like spongy vein from the wall, and they go to each of the cups, wringing the flesh out so that this viscous blood pours from it into each cup one at a time. And when they've finished, these cups are passed out to the various performers, including yourself. Inara is given hers, and she looks at you, and you don't know for sure which one of you she sees when she looks at you, but she says, I love you, and I have faith in you. And she drinks the contents of the cup, and each of them begin drinking the contents of the cup. And some of them, even though they do not breathe, they cough. Some of their bodies twitch. It looks like they are struggling with whatever consequences follow drinking it. But they wait for you to drink. And you realize, with this kind of strange understanding of this ritual that you've never practiced, never studied, and have no interest in performing, you understand the psychic resonance of this flesh, the way it is attuned to the ancients, the way that it emanates the power of Auspex at its greatest levels, speaks to you. And you realize that as a focus, it will greatly enhance your chances of completing the ritual, but at dire consequence to your flesh.
In Neil's mind, thoughts have been coalescing, crystallizing through infinite paths forward. Do I get the sense that I won't be able to complete this ritual without it?
How confident are you with your dice pool?
Great question. Great question. For just a minute, Neil thinks legitimately and truly about drinking it. About giving himself every tool to carve a path forward for his friends. But the chance that Nyx has bought him is to speak on his own behalf. And he remembers being not himself. He remembers the consequences of those psychic presences pushing their way through those who have been touched by it, through Vito, and he doesn't want to risk failure, but he also doesn't want to risk that when the time comes, it won't be him who's speaking. That it will be the eldest, the flesh. He remembers the resonance that everyone else in their madness seems to have forgotten between Ravana waking up and what he now knows is Malkov stirring from the Week of Nightmares, and the flesh of the eldest stirring. And while it's not the preservation of his own flesh that he worries about, not this time. It's that by submitting to the flesh, he won't have a path forward to be him at the end when it's time for decisions to be made. So he does not drink it.
When you do not raise the cup to your lips, Nara and the others, you see their gaze bear down on you as something through them is pressuring you, but unable to simply make you do it. I need a courage roll at difficulty 6 to not succumb to peer pressure.
That's so fucking real. I'm gonna need that willpower for later, though. I hate this. I'm gonna spend the willpower.
Understood.
I technically still have one extra one, and I assume this counts towards surviving the night.
Yeah, I'd count that.
4 successes, thanks to both the willpower and the encouragement from Britta and the music hours ago at this point. Anil from even a month or two ago would have immediately buckled. But the horror of everything that has happened and the time he has spent with the people who care about him, actually care about him, has bolstered him. And he looks at this red solo cup filled with this lethal, horrific liquid in his hands. And he just tosses it aside, throwing it back over his shoulder without looking, not crushing it in his hands because he doesn't want that shit even to touch his hands. And he throws it backwards while managing to maintain eye contact. He keeps the eye contact with Nara specifically, knowing that through the connection all of them share, he is staring at all of them at once. And then he puts his hands down in the sign that they had all done in a let's get this over with. I'm waiting on you now. And the way that he has seen Miles have confidence, the way that he has seen Johnny stand up to bullies, the way that he has seen Wynn stare down the devil, the way that he has seen Britta lock in and smoothly take over a social situation, he just throws aside the pressure in a very physical way and tries as best as his little heart can manage, to reflect that energy and that impatience back on them.
Confounded by your show of strength, they're kowtowed, and they assume their positions for the play. It becomes clear to you that in this play, upon a throne that is prepared, it is you who is the ruler of the land and awaits the arrival of that stranger that is meant to bring prosperity or doom.
Neil, before his nerve can break, walks forward and sits on the throne like a waiting king.
Are the lights on in the cafe?
No, they're not.
All right, everybody inside. Let's go.
I will grab the wrapped Arabella body from the trunk, along with helping Britta with her large amount of equipment.
Maybe we could... I was thinking of hiding myself in one of the hidden compartments, and maybe we could fit her there too? Not, like, with me somewhere else?
Yeah, that might be best. Let's get inside.
In the secret back room.
Right.
So we storm into the cafe. Is anyone inside?
When you storm into the cafe, there is multiple people who have arrived at this point. You see Jessica. She is bandaged and is sporting a wound, but seems to otherwise be in generally good health, aside from a bit of a pale pallor to her from some blood loss. You can actually kind of smell the sweet blood coming from her wound. At her side, sort of struggling with Jessica, as the two of them have some sort of an ongoing disagreement, you see Eden, who is wearing this flak jacket that's too big for her, and she has a wooden stake in her hand. She keeps trying to kind of argue with Jessica to let her see to her wound, and Jessica's like, no, conserve your strength. And sort of watching the two of them from the other room, from the other side of the room, is a man and a woman. You recognize first Tanakh of the Talmahera, who had last been seen with that group that had left. And accompanying her is another familiar face. And you see none other than Ira, arms crossed and smoking a cigarette.
Seeing the two of them in her haven together, Britta automatically takes a stumbling step back.
Don't worry yourselves. I didn't expect or want to be here either.
Johnny rushes past everyone to Jessica and just scoops her up into a hug as gently as he can.
There's this wince before you even grab her, just kind of like a reflex, but she kind of just leans into it when you hold her and embraces the comfort that you offer. Eden speaks up. I'm trying to tell her I think I can help her. Tell Jessie to shut up and let me help.
Johnny kind of looks down at Jess. Jess.
Yeah?
It's a terrible Saxon trait to refuse help from your friends.
She kind of gives like a, you really gonna dad me about a gunshot wound look? But like, there's this eye roll and she nods. You're right.
You just remind me of that same awful Saxon trait when I start doing that.
Sorry, I remind you of awful traits. And she kind of like tries to like struggle out of your arm and stand up, but like it may as well be a grapple.
He just beams at the sash she gives him. And for a second, he kind of just like, anyone watching Johnny can see that he suddenly kind of snaps back to the fact that he is in a very dangerous spot. And for the first time kind of suddenly recognizes all of the other people that are here in the room. All right, we might have a fighting chance.
It seems like it. Some providence, apparently.
Suarez and the Wolfman are on their way.
How far out are they?
A couple of minutes.
Well, they might get here late.
Sabat and Tremere are on their way. Please tell me you have some options for the Tremere part.
You guys are really here to help?
Tanakh nods. Yes, sister.
Ira looks at Tanakh and doesn't quite roll his eyes, but does like the start of an eye roll, and then looks over at Britta. Halfway here, I started to think about having a change of heart. I tried to bail. And then I tried to bail again out of the same door. And then I tried to bail again out of the same door. And then after about the fourth or fifth, realized I didn't have much of a choice. So yeah, he looks over at Miles. I guess I am somewhat of an option for the Tremere.
Think you gave up earlier than I did?
Reiss is here.
Good.
He wants Eden again.
Of course he does. Lord Reiss has people breathing down his neck, too.
Well, if we're all in this thing together, let's fucking do this. Damn the Black Hand, damn the Tremere, Dark Selina, John Reiss, all of them go to hell. Eden's ours, and we're not giving her up. And Johnny's going to use Esprit de Corps on the group. So unfortunately, just 2 levels of potence for everybody.
2 more than I had.
Do we have anyone who could specifically benefit from an Ironheart? It costs me a willpower, and it gives you -1 difficulty against certain things.
I don't think it's going to make a difference for you.
Help some and I'll help the rest. If you spend 3 willpower, everyone's covered.
Done.
If Ira has options, can you handle most of the Tremere? Do you need help?
How many Tremere?
I saw about a half dozen, and as well as Reiss.
Holy shit.
They all looked really, really ready to do magic, but I can't tell if that's just how they look when they're...
It's probably both. I can, maybe, but I'm gonna need a hell of a lot more blood.
Jess,
Dad?
you can see the weakness of things, right?
Yeah.
There is an ancient vampire coming with the Black Hand. She is
Like a Franz Ferdinand?
older.
Okay.
You'll see her smiling.
She is the ancestor of my bloodline of vampires. And she can do things to manipulate those of her bloodline.
Got it.
But I also think she's cocky and arrogant as hell. If she gives me an opportunity to strike at her, I'm going to. If you can see a weakness, you either let me or whoever can best strike at it know.
Okay, I can do that.
Did Eden actually heal her or no?
Not yet.
As they're talking, Wynn will kind of like shepherd people towards the stairs and like away from the windows, and like she's not going to say anything. Words are not what she's about right now. She just kind of shuffles people away from the giant glass windows, especially Eden and especially Jessica. And then again, while people are talking, she goes and she finds a bunch of she just finds a bunch of solid stuff to like shove in sink drains and faucets.
Actually, because of Vito, Britta had sink... what do you call them? Like the sink clogger thing?
Stoppers.
Stopper, thank you. Those are all very available in her haven specifically.
And then she will put something with some weight on it on the sink stoppers.
As the group of you make your way upstairs, Eden irritates Jessie by slapping her hands down on her shoulders. And while her hands are firmly planted on her shoulders, she closes her eyes, and a third eye opens on her forehead that radiates a gentle light. And for the first time in a bit, the group of you feel like things might be okay. Except for you, Miles. This fucking sucks and you hate it, and you have to resist an urge to simply kill this stupid fucking girl right now. Roll me a willpower, difficulty 9.
Gonna spend a willpower on that?
Does Ironheart apply here?
No.
3 successes.
With 3 successes, you realize after a few moments that your head is tilted to the side and you've been fantasizing about mutilating a child.
I will shake my head. I hand Arabella off to someone close by.
I need a willpower roll for you to do that.
I need a willpower roll?
Yeah, difficulty 10 to not simply Diablerize her instead.
A wash.
You find yourself unwilling to give Arabella up at this moment. She has some use for you later.
Roger that. I will move it. I will be right up.
As the light washes over Jessica, she takes this deep breath, and you can no longer smell that blood. That wound closes, and she is healed. And Eden pulls Jessica into a hug, and then she holds a hand out to Britta.
Britta is completely distracted because, due to her circumstances, she's thinking about herself. She's about to ask Ira something. But, does she see the hand out of the corner of her eye? Or?
Yeah.
Sorry, Eden, hello? Hey.
She, just fucking keeps reaching for you.
Britta is confused. She doesn't really fully understand why.
Give her your hand, stupid.
Johnny puts a hand on Wynn's shoulder and pushes Wynn forward as well.
Britta just looks extremely hurt at Wynn. And that's more important for a second to look hurt at Wynn than to reach over to Eden.
Eden makes an expression and will also pull Wynn into this hug.
Britta will step into the hug when Wynn, almost as a punishment, is forced to join the group hug.
Wynn, kind of, again, that long-suffering teenage attitude of being forced to show affection in public. Oh my god!
As this whole dynamic is going on, Ira looks at Johnny like, what the fuck? What is going on?
It's been a rough night.
But she will join in with awkward side hug.
Bathed in this light, you find Eden's strange power of purification cleanses you of the infectious madness that the two of you have been stricken with.
Johnny kind of gives a big smile at this big group hug of all the girls that he likes, and kind of looks over at Miles to see him smiling at it too.
Miles is not smiling at it.
What is Miles' expression, and what's going on with him right now, buddy?
He has turned away, and is clearly moving away and out of this light with
Clutching Arabella?
Yeah. In a tight hold, but clearly doesn't want to be in that light.
Johnny kind of slowly moves over towards Miles, and just kind of in a soft kind of tone, "You doing all right over here, bud?"
No.
What's the problem?
You'll find out soon, but
You need some alone time?
I need a few minutes.
How about you give me Arabella?
I need to bring her back.
Well, maybe Eden can help us with that.
Meanwhile, as Britta is becoming more and more herself, and Wynn, presuming I'm seeing the lights come on upstairs.
Do I get my mental traits back?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Hooray!
Yeah, the 11 years has stopped short.
Okay.
I mean, you can keep acting like that if you want. I guess.
I do not.
I would very much like you to stop.
Yeah, I would very much like me to stop.
Britta takes in that deep breath that she doesn't need and gives Eden a chase kiss on the temple and thank you as she's realizing what's happening and as her focus isn't so narrow. And she leans into the hug, meaning it wholeheartedly.
Wynn does similar. She makes sure to include Britta in her hug and kind of cradles Eden against her and kisses the top of her head and whispers thank you.
Eden kind of has this proud expression and then looks very tired and sort of sits down and starts to kind of pass out.
Hey, you alright?
Oh, jeez.
I did good.
What do you need?
And out.
Medicine roll, if I can see if I can help her.
Good. You can check her vitals. She has those.
That's weird.
Must be nice.
3 successes.
With 3 successes, you know that whatever she just did was a very big strain on her body. She's just fucking exhausted and has fallen asleep.
She's okay. She's just wiped out. She's sleeping. That took a lot out of her. we'll have to keep an eye out for her.
While people are busying themselves about, Wynn cuts 2 leg holes in the bottom of her backpack.
No, we're not baby-borning Eden.
You say that now.
I say that after I've given you 3 levels of potence so we can just pick her up casually. We're not baby-borning her.
But she can't hold on is the issue. And I need my hands for things. It's just in case.
There are scissors and the craft stuff over there, and if we change her clothes and everything, I can try and make her a little less recognizable by sight. I know she's mortal, and it'll be obvious if they look, but maybe that'll just buy 1 round.
Are you all just trying to protect the girl?
Yeah, actually, you're good at...
Can you put her in like a oubliette or something?
Yeah. But she'll be stuck there. Or, I don't know what's underneath here, but we can phase out the floor and just drop her down there.
Somewhere we can see her would probably be best.
If you put her in the oubliette, would other Tremere be able to get to her?
Depends on if they have counter magic. Or if they can... they know the path of Mercury. I'm not going to say no. Lord Reiss is talented, but she at least won't be able to go anywhere on her own accord. Which means anybody trying to possess her body or carry her away won't be able to do so. Counterpoint, somebody decides they don't actually care anymore, they don't want her, and they just want to kill her, they burn the building down and she can't escape. And if I'm distracted and can't drop the jail, could also be a problem. But it's an option. I'll leave it up to you.
Speaking of options, I've gotten good enough with my aspects that I can be in the astral too. I don't know if you'll need help. That's what we were planning to do before we knew that you and Tanakh would be here.
I think we should probably put her in the oubliette.
I think someone should be in there with her.
Then that person isn't going anywhere either.
That's fine. But she's not alone in there, and if for some reason one of the other Tremere is able to break in...
If I can offer, tactically, it's the Sabbat coming as well, right?
Yes.
Yes, Dark Selina and some operatives of the Black Hand and a Bruja named Delgado as well.
He's Black Hands.
Powerful?
Yes, but he's
Extremely.
a leader in the Black Hand.
Right. So, I don't think, looking even at the crowd that we have, that anyone taking themselves out of the fight is really an option to be inside the jail with her. And I can hold off the Tremere for a while, but unless you're versed in astral combat, we'd just be buying time. I'm going to run out of blood. Unless this side, in the material realm, I'm not going to run out of any blood, but I might have to pop back and forth. So, I don't know, maybe a tag out if we have to, but if you can clean up the battlefield faster here,
Yes.
then the quicker that happens, the more likely we can hold off all the Tremere.
If you put her in the oubliette, can we still keep her in visual sight?
It's the same thing we did to you.
There are sounds downstairs. The door opens.
I'm gonna heighten my hearing if there's footsteps.
You hear footfalls of shoes coming up the steps, accompanied by the pads of a wolf's paws.
Wolves.
Miles?
Would it be a willpower roll to start to make her spend that blood using the blood magic to basically revive her? I'm asking, is it going to take me willpower to bring her out of this state?
It's a willpower roll to activate the level of the path to...
I know that. I'm wondering if my derangement is going to...
you may spend a point of willpower, and I will actually let you try to suppress it. Johnny interfering kind of took you out of the, well, what if I just...
Yeah, I'm going to do that, and then as a counterpoint to all of this positive energy, off to the side, just a little out of the stairway, I will enact the first level, I think, of Path of Blood.
Blood Rage 2.
Blood Rage 2.
But you're doing that not near me, I assume, right?
Yeah, I'm out of sight.
I imagine Johnny's close by, or at least Johnny's blocking any sight line to anywhere near him.
Right.
So.
To give Miles his credit, even in the wash of magic positivity, Ira was a Tremere for years. That fucking eyeball opening up on her head is at war. His face is not all sunshine either. It is he is absolutely at war with himself.
More importantly, he's distracted.
Yeah.
4 successes.
Arabella wakes up, looks at you, and gives this, like, kind of sly smirk while squeezing your ass. I knew you cared.
We're going to need some help.
Ugh. What do you want?
We're fighting the Sabbat.
You're fighting the Sabbat.
Can you provide some support?
Why don't we just leave?
Because we need to protect the girl.
No, the fuck we don't. What are you
I
talking
need
about?
to protect
No, the fuck you don't.
Then you can leave. I've
Come
brought you
with
back.
me. Why? Get the fuck out of here.
Because I'm going to do this right.
She sighs.
Because I'm about to do a lot of things wrong. And I'm going to start using Dark Thaumaturgy right in front of her.
She gives this look. Your friends are going to turn on you.
That's why I brought you. Help me keep them safe. And hopefully everything comes out fine. And then we're gone.
Deal. You owe me.
You already owed me.
But what we're about to do is so remarkably fucking stupid that we are back to you owing me.
How about we call it even for now?
Let's go.
2 hours for 4 generations will put me at 3rd gen. I think this is as low as you can go, right?
The lowest you can go is 4.
Okay, so
3 hours, 4th gen.
3 hours, 4th gen. And now, Wind Dance.
How hard do you want me helping?
Enough to keep yourself alive and try to keep everybody else alive. If you can add some stuff to me, or Johnny, or something to do with these goddamn Tremere.
Tremere?
Astral. Everyone's after her.
I'll go there. She focuses and enacts perfect clarity. And then, to her right and to her left, she summons things. And they emerge from these, like, neon green burning shadows and appear to be just these disgusting, monstrous entities. I'll help in the astral. You make sure no one kills me.
Got it.
I'll make sure no one kills you.
Sounds good. 4 successes on Wind Dance, which I think covered me for what I need. That is about all the buffs I've got, I think.
You're not going to cast that on me?
I can't. I haven't learned enough yet, sorry. Just started like 2 days ago.
No, just forget it. Forget it. I'm going to the bathroom. Locking the door. That's roll B. Don't let it burn.
Roger that.
Minions. And she walks and they follow.
And after enacting all that magic, I'm going to go up and meet with the rest of the crew before we fight these people.
Detective Suarez and a very large timber wolf that is riddled with scars across its snout, its back, along its neck with a clipped ear, walk into the room. And the two of them look like they've been hurt. They're covered in dust and ash, a lot of ash, and have this just grizzled, ruthless expression on them. Detective Suarez has a sawed-off shotgun that is slung over his shoulder, and in his hands is a chainsaw. The chainsaw is riddled with pieces of cloth caught in the teeth, and the wolf has blood all over its mouth, along the sides of its cheeks, and it has just this hunger for combat that is evident in its yellow eyes.
Britta returns her hearing to usual as these two enter the room, and she offers a very hesitant smile. Hey.
Ira, a city kid for life, just immediately backs up against the wall when a fucking wolf walks in. Not even because it's weird, but because it's like, that's a fucking big animal. Fuck that.
The wolf will cooperate so long as we are keeping this child safe. She apparently has the blood of their people. But keep your distance from him. He, warns the group of you.
It's close quarters. I'll do my best.
Ira's face says it's not a fucking problem.
Johnny kind of nods at the both of them. I'm glad to see that both of you are standing and moving around again. And I'm so grateful that you're here that we can fight together.
His lips kind of grow thin, and he makes a contemplative expression.
And I also understand that after we make sure that Eden's safe, there might be a reckoning.
I think that holds true for everyone. And things are bad enough, then frankly, I'm just glad it's not us against all of you.
Ditto.
But right now we have the start of a plan. We have a safe for the moment option for Eden. And Britta starts to run over everything they know, just as quick as possible, making sure everyone's on the same page.
Britta, as you go over the plan, it sounds like the group of you are going to try to hold this fort down and then make an escape when an opportunity opens.
That sounds like my understanding.
Yep.
Everyone agree?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Britta, give me a tactics roll. Tanakh is helping you, and she will give you +1 die to this roll.
Does my spec of the jihad apply here?
It sure does.
Holding a fort against the Tremere and the Black Hand. There's nothing more jihad than that.
6 successes.
Excellent. You may take 6 successes and divide those as bonus dice among your teammates.
Britta's process here is that she knows that Dark Selina is going to come for Johnny, and she knows that he's going to need to have himself together. Anything the group can do to support him, they need to do. So, 3 of those dice are going straight to him. One of their next big saving graces here is Ira, who will have a lot to handle. And, well, being probably unaware of the new help that he's receiving, and I don't know how much that would change it anyway, to know that Arabella's joining him, he's going to get 2. The remaining 1, in case she has to go into the astral, Britta will take that 1. Not sure whether that's the right call. It could have gone just as easily to Wynn or to Miles. And she's not very good in the astral, but she is the other person we have here to do it. That's the tactics pool.
That sounds good to me. Neil, Act 1 begins at once. And as it does, the light of skies becomes inverted. You see beyond walls and structures in the world that you once knew, and find yourself upon a stone throne, by a lake, and beneath strange stars. Though you are still cognizant as to who you are, you know that you have been drawn into the play, and that the fact that you are aware of this false reality is in a way dangerous, because you do not necessarily innately know how to behave, act, react in this false reality. But it might be worth it. Scene 1 finishes, which goes by very quickly. Some of the performers die and break and transform into hideous monstrosities born from the flesh of the eldest. But even those creatures are bound by this play, and they do not lash out and attack because they are still lost to this reality and have a part to play. But you are all too aware. I need a courage challenge to not flee from the monsters that are manifesting before you.
What's the difficulty on this?
Your difficulty is 6. You've seen this shit before.
1 success.
With steel nerves, you gaze on. Nara kneels before you, and slowly she removes your shoes and begins to wash your feet with strange black water. And as she speaks, you hear the cacophony of these words and kind of piece together that you should be speaking as well.
As Neil realizes he's supposed to be speaking, hanging on to his sense of identity like a drowning man, he lets the current of words just take him. And he says, "Along the shore the cloud waves break, the twin suns sink behind the lake, the shadows lengthen in Carcosa. Strange is the night where black stars rise and strange moons circle through the skies, but stranger still is lost Carcosa. Songs that the Hyades shall sing, where flap the tatters of the king, must die unheard in dim Carcosa. Song of my soul, my voice is dead. Die thou unsung, as tears unshed shall dry and die in lost Carcosa.
The chant continues, and more scenes play on, and more of your children undergo horrific transformations. But towards the end, it is Nara, who is the last among them, that you see bone spurs erupt from and flesh split, and an alien mutilation to her very being. And you know that she's gone. But did you really know her? And it's just you and these monsters bound by this waking dream. And that's when I need some dice rolls.
Yep.
If you fail this roll, the ritual has failed and simply ends. And I think you understand what consequences await you should the ritual simply end. I will say this. When you confound the people gathered by standing up to them and refusing to be bound by the rules of their reality, you may regain your willpower.
I will regain the one I spent to give everyone else extra willpower before. But I feel the need to let you know that all of my extra willpower to survive the night going into this is gone.
Understood.
So Lex, what is the roll that I am making?
So, you did not drink from the cup. That means you do not enjoy the -5 difficulty to this roll.
Yep.
It is a willpower roll at difficulty 11. Anything you can do to modify that difficulty, you may do.
I don't have anything to help with this roll.
Then it is difficulty 11,
So
meaning
yeah.
it is difficulty 10, and you need a second success.
I am spending a willpower. I have 10 dice because Neil is willpower 10. Okay.
Well,
so I spent a willpower. I got no ones, and I also got no 10s. So that is one success, which is one short of what I need.
that is, so that's not enough. Do you have any rerolls?
No, I don't have oracular ability or any of that, ironically.
All right, so here's what happens. The figure that you have been waiting for begins the process of manifesting, but as you fail to hold the image in your mind and stumble over a few of the words, it starts to fade, and as this reality begins to break apart and segment, those monsters who are trapped within its grasp start to become more cognizant and look around, and it becomes clear that this ritual is failing and they are turning on you.
Fuck, Hold on. I have no idea if this is going to work. Hold on. Lex.
Yep.
When we ascended the ladder of heaven,
Yes.
so Miles and Britta and Neil went up, and Neil got to the top successfully. And the Vikos had mentioned that there was a fragment of possibility, I guess, that he had touched during the Week of Nightmares, and that he could affect reality in ways that others could only dream. Actually, I think his sire said he could affect his reality in ways that others could only dream.
Yes.
And his sire might have been talking about this, but I used one to... I accidentally rewrote reality so that Wynn was there to help us.
Right.
Which was my fifth of 6 week of nightmares. If I'm understanding, God, this gets so fucking metaphysical. Can I tap whatever potential or antediluvian power or whatever that was in that moment to just refocus in that moment just to get one fucking willpower success? Is that possible?
So I'll say this. The power of Ravana to shape and manipulate reality is kind of very applicable here. That makes sense. What happens if you choose to use it? Are you using it? Because that's it. That's the last one.
If not now, when?
It's fair. You channel ancient power. And when you dig deep into it and deplete the last of this resource, this reality reasserts itself. And you are given one more success on your roll. And because of this figure begins to manifest in long, mustard yellow, ragged robes. Its hands, its arms, skin and bone, its face completely obscured by that strange mask that was described to you. The mask that you yourself cannot put into words. And the rest obscured by that large hood that hides the rest of its head. And it arrives before you. Salvation, damnation, I bring both. Yes, I bring both. And it waits.
Neil, shaking like a leaf on the throne, having spent everything that he is and has to get to this moment, nods as this figure says that it brings both damnation and salvation. And strangely, maybe, some of the things that his sire said to him come to mind. And he just can't help himself and says, what is damnation to some is salvation to others. I really don't think there is one without the other. I know who you are as much as anyone can. I've been doing a lot of reading. Maybe not a surprise to you. This whole thing started because of damnation, and through damnation was allowed a path to salvation. You know, there's some philosophies that really think about the world as a great wheel. Time turning over and over. One age ends, an age of despair and darkness and entropy, to bring a new age of growth and hope and possibility. But you don't get there without... you don't get salvation without damnation. Even in the beginning, you would know better than most, but in Cain's own words, right? And the words kind of spill out from Neil after all that, Book of Nod reading he had been doing. And he says, I gave a cry of anguish at this terrible curse and tore at my flesh. I wept blood. I caught the tears in a cup and drank them. And when I looked up from my drink of sorrow, the archangel Gabriel, gentle Gabriel, Lord of mercy, appeared to me. The archangel Gabriel said unto me, Son of Adam, son of Eve, behold, the mercy of the Father is greater than you can ever know. For even now there is a path opened, a road of mercy, and you shall call this road Golconda, and tell your children of it, for by that road may they come to once again dwell in the light. And with that, the darkness was lifted like a veil. There is so much focus on the damnation. People are blind to the path forward. And I don't think most of us even deserve a path forward. But it's there. I know it exists. I believe it exists. And Neil just starts openly weeping. I know people who deserve it. Who believe in it, who know it's coming, and I know people who wanted to do this, all of this, for selfish reasons to pull themselves out. I don't think salvation, I don't think you can judge yourself. I think you can judge other people. God, they're good. Even the flawed are good. If Cain had a path forward, then all of us can. It's just whether or not we have a chance. God, I want them to have a chance. I just want them to have a chance to walk forward and let the wheel turn into a new age and let them go with it, if they can. I just need to know there's a path.
No. You say, I did not come this far for mercy.
In the quiet moments after plans have been set, everyone's geared up, and we're waiting for the Sabbat to arrive, Johnny pulls out his Morleys, kind of gives a glance over to Miles. You want one?
I'll take one.
Puts the second Morley in his mouth, and then goes to grab his Zippo, and then frowns, remembering that that's out of fucking gas. So he fishes around in his pocket and finds a Bic. These are dark times, Miles. Lights up the 2 cigarettes with the Bic lighter, puts that on the table, and passes the second lit Morley over to you.
Thanks. Things are going to get weird out there.
How so?
I'm going to be different once this fight starts.
Johnny gives you kind of a long look. His eyes glance up towards the various holes that Britta directed Johnny to create as little murder holes and sight lines, so that this whole structure is kind of better suited for a defensive team to remain in contact. So he kind of looks at those holes and lets Miles see him glance up to them and glances back.
Yeah.
Different, you say?
Different.
Something you want to keep between the two of us?
For now. It'll become pretty obvious.
The fuck did you do?
Found that there aren't many lines I wouldn't cross for my friends.
You trust me with this?
You're going to be fighting next to me out there. And yeah, I don't know if it's ever going to go well from here on in, but...
You're starting to fucking scare me, Miles.
Miles nods at that.
Well, in for a penny, in for a pound, I guess, huh? Takes a long drag on the cigarette.
That's been my thought.
I'll be honest. I'm glad we're here for Eden. But if there's one last thing I do, it's making sure Jessica gets out of this alive.
I agree. The two of them should. But we have to make sure Eden survives.
What do you think it is about this girl?
I don't know. The prophecy, since I heard it, it's been stuck with me. I think if she survives and somehow stays untainted, untortured by all these individuals, there is I don't know, hope for humanity, mankind. I'm not sure what it meant, but I don't know. It stuck with me. And everything about my instincts from there on in have made me think that that might be right.
Oh, man, I fucking hate prophecies.
I agree.
You start thinking about them like that's the only angle. You start to believe you're part of one. You forget that this is just a fucking another day.
I think it also comes down to that she's never had a choice.
Kind of nods at that. Takes another long drag in his Morley.
And if we're ever going to do anything right, this seems like a good time. Maybe if I'm ever going to do anything right. I think you guys have done plenty.
Johnny finally blows the smoke out of his nose. Kind of just two billows of smoke coming out of his nostrils, like almost like he's a dragon. Whatever happens after this, though, Miles, you realize the domain's done after this, right?
The domain won't have a prince anymore after this.
Kind of cocks an eyebrow at that. You've gone full stupid, huh?
I mean, that's one way to describe it, I guess. It's also more that I won't be interested in being the prince of this domain anymore.
All right. Well, whatever you did, friends to the end.
Sounds good to me. If I got your back, you got mine.
Damn straight.
Ira is in the back in sort of one of the secret sort of salon areas, opening up a closet locker space. And he looks over at Wynn. This is probably as good a place as any, Sheriff.
Trust your judgment on that?
Well, that was actually what I was going to ask. You trust me with the girl in here?
Wynn just kind of takes a breath and closes her eyes and tries to find words, and there's none to be had. Her brain has been through too much in the span of a single night. Lost faculties, been reduced to a child, watched the people she cares about commit atrocities, and then get it all back. And she misses Neil. She regrets that she herself has not mastered collocation and could not split herself into pieces and chase after both of them. And so part of her is left wondering, hoping that he's okay. And then she kind of just figures out that she's still here. And Ira's talking to her like he expects her to have a very simple answer. Ira, I'm fighting side by side with a werewolf.
Yeah.
I think who I thought I would trust doesn't really matter anymore. You trusted me, I guess this is returning the favor.
You smoke?
On occasion.
Pulls out a couple of Morleys out of a pack in his pocket, and then snaps his finger, and there's a little snap of blue arc light, and he passes one over.
She takes it. Takes a puff.
Doesn't impact me, but I figure I shouldn't smoke in a small space with a sick kid.
Right. Mortal kid.
Well, maybe.
Well, I was thinking Jessica, but...
Right, that one. Ira takes a much briefer, if no less baffled, stock of his own life and what led him to here. Finishes the cigarette quicker than you would expect. Just kind of stubs it out, half done. If things go bad, the whole jail, this whole protection for me and the girl, will probably go away in an hour or so. Make yourself scarce and come back.
Do what I can.
Hell, isn't that what every single fucking one of us is doing?
I really hope not. Kind of hope the people you're going to fight are being fucking casual about it. Kind of hope the people I'm going to fight are being fucking casual about it.
The Tremere trained me to be an ambush predator against people who strayed off the path. I've never gone to war before, Sheriff.
Me neither.
I'm gonna do it now and trap myself in here before I change my goddamn mind again, while that fucking time woman isn't paying attention. I won't be able to reach the door. Close it for me.
Can do.
And he starts to move. He, brings Eden into this closet with him and starts to cast and incant, and then the air shimmers like a heat wave, and the metal and wood around him, it's like they get denser. And then he nods and sort of muffled says, "All right, I'm gonna go when the shooting starts."
Make sure you sit down first.
He does. Sits cross-legged, kind of with his back against the edge of whatever barrier he's made.
Probably should have asked if you needed a pillow first.
Too late for comfort.
In so many ways. And once she's sure they're tucked in safe, she'll shut the door and bring herself to walk away, back over to where Britta is.
Does everyone look ready?
That bunch does. I'm sorry, I was an asshole as a teenager.
I mean, I don't know if I was really much better. You were going through something too, and I couldn't think of that.
You literally couldn't.
Wanna just call it even? I'm sorry too.
I think we can have room for regrets once we're out of this.
I don't think I'll regret spending my worst moments with you all, because at least I get to spend time with you. And while I wish that, we wouldn't have to put each other through what we go through too. This Coterie is the best people to do it with. I'm really glad I found you guys. And, very aware, more now than ever, that might not have been the case.
I'm glad we found you too. No regrets. Not about you.
Britta offers a hug.
Wynn takes it. A good, hearty Wynn hug.
I've got my stuff set up, and...
Tell me where you need me.
Well, mind the holes in the floor, but maybe somewhere that you could jump out of the window easily without being immediately in sight.
I can do that.
Not the same window.
No, I wouldn't want to step on your head or the gun or something. Or accidentally fire an RPG up my ass.
Britta... Maybe it's even comforting to Wynn, not to project emotions onto her, but the look of confusion and the look of Wynn, why? is probably so familiar.
It's good to have my brain back.
It is good to have your brain back.
She leans against the wall between the windows.
Do you know where Tanakh is? I just wanted to have a quick word before I got back to the setup.
I don't, but I can see if I can find her.
Britta's looking to find Tanakh quick.
When you find her, she is actually waiting, knelt right by the window that you were going to be keeping watch from. So it seemed that she was waiting for you.
Not at all a quick look around then, as she turns from the conversation from Wynn and back to her setup to see Tanakh. Hey, sorry, I think you heard I was just looking for you.
She looks your way. Apologies, sister. My mind was adrift, pondering all that led us to this place, to this time.
Britta is a little lost for words for a second. She knows that she meant to say so many things, but how do you even say which thing first? Which thing in what order to make it make any sense in these times? But she pulls her focus together, straightens her spine with intention, and she says, I think we've all found strange paths here. I didn't know if I would ever see you again after the chantry, and...
Admittedly, it was my intention to be away much longer, but a robed ghost where the lantern and scythe found me. He told me that as he did what he was meant to do, that I owed it to him to see to you.
Britta furrows her brow and looks at Tanakh and says, I'm sorry, I don't know if this is to do with my amnesia. I'm getting bits and pieces back, but...
She rests her hand on yours and says, Romeo has found his path. We must see to ours.
Confusion, almost fear, hope, they all flicker in Britta's eyes. And stronger than those, a longing that she doesn't know how to define. Like missing someone that you don't even really know, like wondering what that even means. But she chooses to accept the contact. She looks to Tanakh and she says, I thought I would dread seeing you again. Seeing anyone from the Tamah era. I guess I thought I'd be running from you from the rest of my own life. After the chantry and everything, I really am glad to have you fighting beside me.
I am glad that you are alive to fight.
Britta dips her head, a heartfelt nod. You too.
She turns and in her little corner, it's as though she's speaking to no one. But you can hear a couple of words that she sort of quietly murmurs. And the tail end of it is that your enemies may scatter, that those who hate you may flee before you. And with that, the irises of her eyes take on a red glow, and she peers out the window, looking for trouble.
Britta's happy to take that as a cue. She heightens her senses, her own vision strengthening, and she gives just the warning of, you won't see me right now, before she dips into obfuscate to cover her position as she takes up the law rocket that Miles had provided for her.
Tanakh kind of gives this little look your way and then turns, but this time puts her hands up to the sides of her ears, covering them as she waits for the inevitable.
Yeah, before Britta dips into obfuscate, if she sees this in like that little transition, there's like an acknowledgement tilt of the head and actually a bit of a smile. Not that Britta's looking forward to any of this, but...
No, there's kind of like this bit of grim humor that comes from her. It's like, though she looks actually rather young, perhaps like weathered by war and a life of strife, she kind of has this like old, like grandma energy that kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, yep. And she just kind of watches. Quickly, after a minute and a half of the two of you quietly watching for trouble, she points in a direction, and as you look at it, there is a trio of individuals who are moving to a position across the street, and you can actually see one of them with like a can of spray paint marking this like corner with this like purple colored spray paint.
Britta's favorite color. No one still told her that that's the color of the Sabbat.
Well, ta-da.
Ta-da.
They love it.
Is this trio recognizable to be any particular individuals?
They are, to casual observation, they're clad in a lot of the very same Black Hand gear that you had seen at the rave.
Wynn is standing a few steps back from the windows. Not the same window the law rocket is being fired from. Mm-hmm. She does have the protean eyes up. Mm-hmm. Is she able to make out any further detail?
What's your Auspex rating?
1.
You do not see anything as of yet, but I will have an update for you.
Okay.
Am I able to... Because I am mostly hiding in Obfuscate, but it doesn't cost anything to dip in and out of Obfuscate.
Right.
So I will dip out to whisper to Wynn the situation.
and then dip back in to obfuscate.
Wynn is crouched. She will occasionally peer over her shoulder out the window, but she doesn't really want her eyes to be super visible.
Britta is holding off because this shot is meant for Dark Selina.
If you are waiting, one of them pulls up a radio, they speak, and they start moving into a building across the street.
Britta evaluates the arrival of this trio. It only takes a moment. The paint hasn't dissipated from the air. But she locks in. She adjusts her grip on the law rocket, and her mentality shifts. She allows her TMR training to course through her. She allows that to harden her, to show in her aggression and in her tactics and in her strength. She goes into her berserk. And with that, she aims dead center on this trio. She does her best to lower enemy numbers. She takes aim and shoots.
There is a shot that is fired, and with precognitive power and speed beyond thought, the rocket is caught by a woman in armor and a hood that rests down, covering all but her face beneath her brow. And there's this quizzical look as perhaps she is surprised by what she caught and didn't know exactly what she was instinctively interfering with. And then there is an explosion. Neil, I'm gonna need a willpower roll. This is contested against your sire.
Can I spend a point of willpower on this?
Yes, you may.
All right.
Your sire has 4 successes.
With that willpower expenditure, I have 8 successes.
You shove the words to the side, and as your thoughts become your own, you sense this psychic presence, like you're tapped into something that reaches across the globe and across time.
When the snows consume the earth, and the sun gutters like a candle in the wind, then and only then there will be born a woman, the last daughter of Eve, and in her there will be decided the fate of all. And you will not know this woman except by the mark of the moon on her, and she will face treachery, hatred, and pain, but in her is the last hope.
Yes, the voice confirms. Behind the pallid mask, there is a sort of recognition, and it reaches into the tattered mustard yellow robes that it wears, and it draws something beautiful. And what you see in its hand, its kind of thin, almost bony hand, is a flower. This beautiful bloom that shines with reds and oranges and the warmest colors. And as it holds it, it begins to speak and says, "This is the sacred fire flower. It is where our tale begins. The future lies in the past, and you worry so much about fate and the end and time. But this gift from Octavio should serve as truth to you. Truth that all we are stories. Your friends, the people you love, will not find redemption in this story. And if you were to give it to them, would you not damn the rest? Would you not be that which you despise most? The one who God without the wisdom to recognize its responsibility. You have a chance to change this story or write a new one. What will it be, Neil Foster of Markov? Shall you change this, the last story, or will you allow a new one? And as it says a new one, it brandishes the sacred fire flower.
Neil is still for a very, very long time. He has never been a man who was able easily to choose one thing from another without overthinking everything. And the echo of his sire fading in the back of his mind, and the words that he spoke about what he believes still in his throat. He looks at this being, he looks at Malkov and says,
and as you go to speak, there is a surge of anger as you feel your sire struggle to the surface. Even the dark things come to fear darkness deeper. Those who walk the black crooked path watch fearfully behind. Even the mad who madden the world see reason to shudder. The slaves of death's maze fear the destruction for which they long. It comes, it clings with a black hand, ripe fruit from an ebony branch. As the words sputter out of you, your sire maneuvers to seize control. Give me another willpower roll.
I will spend another willpower. 5 successes with the willpower.
Your sire has 6 successes. You don't know what's happening on the surface. But somehow you are aware in this blackness that you have been submerged under. And normally in the past, whenever you blacked out, there was nothing. In the blink of an eye, you'd be somewhere else in a different time. But this time, it feels like you've been plummeted into this darkness, where the faintest sounds coming from above, as if you were drowning. But you do not drown. And a voice begins to speak to you. Child, I do not know what has come over you, or how it is that you find yourself able to struggle against this inevitability. But you must stop. There must be oneness. You are a part of a much greater plan, and together, oneness can be attained, and we might sit the throne of Markov. As the world dies and the flesh is twisted by the eldest, our minds collectively could be at peace, and we could dream and tell infinite stories. Just submit.
Neil, struggling in this black water that he finds himself in this liminal nothingness, grits his teeth and tries with every ounce of his being to swim towards the surface. And repeats something he said not that long ago. I struggle because it's the end and all we have is our struggles. I don't want to tell your stories. And tries to kick towards the surface.
As you surge your way up towards consciousness, give me a roll.
I will spend another willpower. Ironically, I still have willpower left because of the tricks he taught me. With the willpower, that is 6 successes.
He has 3 successes. Neil, you return to consciousness, and everything is almost the same, save for one small difference. In one hand is this flower that is warm to the touch and radiates this power. And in the other hand, a thick, pulpy glob of flesh torn from the wall. And already you can feel some of that spongy flesh having pressed little holes into your wrist and forearm as tendrils start to slowly grow into your arm.
Neil's first thought as he surfaces is to drop that flower and rip his arm off, get this thing away from him, but he knows he can't drop that flower, this is what is precious. This is the goal here. So he tries to drop the flesh that's in his hand, knowing it's probably already too late. And he grasps that warm flower and looks at Malkov and says, without thinking, because he's afraid his sire will come back and stop him, the wheel needs to turn. We have to tell new stories. The wheel needs to turn, and he can't decide what they are. The throne needs to be vacant, so there has to be more. There has to be more for that path forward. And Neil, out of desperation maybe, out of fear that he can't hold on any longer against what his sire is trying to do, wishes for that path forward and wishes for the end.
This figure in its pallid mask raises its hands and lowers its mask. And beneath you see a kind of young, cherubic face. However, there is something terribly wrong with it. On its face, scattered and kind of mushed around in a confusing pattern, are 6 eyes, 3 noses, and 3 mouths. One frowns, one smiles, and the other screams with the rows of teeth in its mouth. And slowly, it places the mask over your face. There is this sound of cracking glass as you look through the pallid mask, and it begins to crack and refract, and you realize that you are one of many faces gazing through it, many perspectives. And as you look, you realize something terrible. Eden is the path forward. And while you have made this wish, there is still the possibility of failure. And through all the trials and tribulations that you and your family have faced, somehow, some way, you have found yourselves right where you need to be to make a difference. If the Tremere secure Eden, a great doom awaits. If Dark Selina obtains Eden, another doom awaits. Should Eden die, hope dies with her, and every doom awaits. One mistake, one false step, one choice that is made just askew of what the future needs, and it is all done. And as though that pressure weren't enough, the man that wore the pallid mask fades away. And as it does, so does this strange realm that you find yourself in. And all that is left to you are the children you embraced unknowingly, and the lover who did not love you, and the forms they have taken. They growl, and they shift their gaze onto you as this ritual no longer holds them in check. I need an initiative roll.
Jesus Christ. I am down 3 willpower. I have 3 blood left, and I have 2 ag on me.
They will be acting on 11.
I rolled a 1 on the die.
What does that take your total to?
An 8.
They make a concerted attack on you, fighting like a pack of wolves, and these creatures are going to begin wishbone maneuvers. The first one connects on you, and with its clawed hands grasps Neil. It is very strong by comparison to yourself. And when you are held in place, the next reaches out for a leg, intent on tearing it off as the two work together and wishbone you. As 3 successes, 2 will carry over into damage. You need to make a soak roll, please. This is lethal damage.
Yep. Do I get to apply my armor to this?
Yes.
2 successes.
You soak the damage. The next one goes straight claw you. 3 successes, 2 carry over into damage.
3 successes.
It claws you for 2 lethal. Attack number 4. 2 successes, 1 carry over into damage.
3 successes.
4 levels of lethal damage.
I'm at incap.
You may spend a point of willpower to ignore wound penalties, or your eyes close.
Including incap?
Yes, it's a wound penalty.
Then I will spend to ignore wound penalties.
5.
We'll be wrapping into ag now.
2 successes to hit, 1 carries over into damage.
3 successes.
No damage. Straight up wash. Okay, here we go. Was that was 5?
Yep.
Yeah.
The next one comes in to rake at your back. With 4 successes to hit, 3 carry over into damage.
I will soak 3 more. Remind me to thank Miles for this armor.
It deals 6 levels of damage as it tears into your back, barreling you down to the ground. 3 levels of lethal will wrap into aggravated damage. Are you still up?
Because of that willpower, I am barely still up. I have 2 non-ag boxes left.
7. Now that you're at the ground, one grasps at your head with the intentions of pulling it from the rest of your body. As 3 successes, 2 will carry over into damage.
3 more soak.
You soak all of the damage.
I'm gonna throw up.
I shouldn't have got you cider.
I believe we're on to 8.
Yep.
I think we are.
Well, one has you by the head. The other grabs you by the hips and moves to yank you from your head. As 5 successes, 4 will carry over into damage.
Oh my god. I will soak. Just 1 this time.
It deals 5 levels of lethal damage. Your chest is torn open. You can feel your spine stretch and break as the meat that links your head and the rest of your body comes loose, and these monsters begin to shake and shake as chunks of you are sent across the room until there is nothing left but rotting pieces of Neil. And in your hand, which lands far, far away from the place you were killed, is a clutched fire flower. And though you've pondered this before, whether or not the mind remains active into death, as perhaps a kindness, you are simply snuffed out and do not have to lay and watch as the monsters feast upon you.
As he's being torn apart, Neil is screaming. There is no dignity or grace in it. He is terrified and in agony. And so when that mercy comes, it truly is a mercy. He's always been a man who had a million thoughts on his mind, and in these moments when he was in a million perspectives, connected to his clan in a way he never was. He is ashamed because he couldn't get back to them, that they're going to think the last act of his life was running away again. But with that lack of pain comes a peace, and he thinks about how much every single one of them means to him. He is so afraid for them and the steps that come next. Malkov told him that there is no redemption for his friends in this story. But even in his final seconds, he can't believe that. And then he thinks about that paper in his pocket and the promise that he can't keep to Wynn. Malkavians, when they die, sometimes throw their thoughts into the network. A piece of them exists in the cobweb, but unlike his sire, Neil doesn't seek any refuge, any continued existence in that place. But what he does think is of who Wynn was and who she used to be. The piece of paper in his pocket that she asked him to remember, all the things that were important to her before blood bonds and archonhood took them away from her. And if there is any memory, any reflection of him that continues to exist in the minds and hearts of Malkavians everywhere, it's who he remembers her as, even when she couldn't. And then, with thoughts of his coterie, the last things that he sees, everything finally just goes black. And he's at rest for once.
Path of Night is a Vampire the Masquerade podcast set in the world of darkness. Britta Ashcroft the Toreador was played by Rebecca Steigelfest. Johnny Saxon the Bruja was played by Garrett Gabbey. Miles Davenport the Venture was played by Tim Davis. Neil Foster the Malkavian was played by Rob Muirhead. Wynn Cabot the Gangrel was played by Erika Webb. Your storyteller was Lex Lopez. Recording by Rebecca Steigelfest. This episode edited by Rob Muirhead. The music used in this episode was composed for Path of Night by Brian Matolius. Find him online at brianmatolius.com. Path of Night uses the 20th anniversary edition of Vampire the Masquerade with a few limited house rules. Vampire the Masquerade and the World of Darkness are owned by Paradox Interactive. Make sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. We can be found on YouTube at youtube.com/@pathofnight. You can help support the show on coffee.com/pathofnight. Find us on twitter.com/pathofnightpod, on facebook.com/pathofnightpodcasts, or email us at pathofnightpodcasts@gmail.com. See you next time, Kindred.
I want to say it before I kind of forget, before we get caught up in a lot of other shit, but thank you so much, Lex, for letting me play the Malkavian I've always wanted to play and show people why I like them so much. It has truly been a privilege to get to play this often maligned clan the way I really think they should be played. So
I say this with no exaggeration, but I think you're the best to do it. You're the guy who really sells the clan, every aspect of it, and it makes it feel like it's not just like a quirky thing, that it is a very serious, heartfelt concept to play, and I think you should be very, very proud.